As a brain doctor, I must warn you that stroke is not a random accident. It strikes when certain silent risks have been building inside the body for years. And the frightening reality is that many people share the same common traits that make a stroke far more likely. High blood pressure, obesity, smoking, heavy drinking, or even a lack of physical activity may not seem urgent when you feel well. But together they create the perfect storm that can suddenly block or rupture a blood vessel in the brain. Within minutes, brain cells begin to die, and the life you know can change forever. Stroke is one of the leading causes of death and disability worldwide. And yet so many people remain unaware that they already carry these dangerous risk factors every day. You may think of stroke as something that happens to others, but the truth is that if you have these traits, your risk is quietly rising right now. The good news is that by recognizing these risks early and taking action, you can greatly reduce the chance of becoming another statistic. In this video, I will reveal the most common traits that make stroke more likely, explain why they are so dangerous, and show you the steps you can take to protect yourself and your loved ones. But before we begin, I want to hear from you. Have you or someone close to you ever struggled with high blood pressure, smoking, or weight problems and worried about stroke? Share your experience in the comments, because your story could open the eyes of someone else and help save a life. 1. High blood pressure. Among all the traits that make a stroke more likely, high blood pressure stands above the rest as the most dangerous and the most common, often called the silent killer. High blood pressure slowly weakens and damages the arteries that carry blood to your brain. The frightening truth is that you may feel completely normal while inside your vessels. The pressure is constantly pushing against delicate walls, wearing them down day after day. Over time, this relentless force creates tiny cracks and injuries in the lining of the arteries. Cholesterol and other substances in the blood slip into these damaged spots, forming plaques that harden and narrow the vessels. When blood flow becomes restricted in this way, the stage is set for a clot to lodge and block circulation to the brain, resulting in an ischemic stroke. The story does not end there. High blood pressure also makes the vessels themselves weaker, more fragile, and more prone to rupture. When a vessel inside the brain bursts under pressure, blood spills into brain tissue, causing a hemorrhagic stroke. This type is less common but often more deadly. In both cases, whether the vessel is blocked or broken, the root cause is the same constant strain of uncontrolled blood pressure. High blood pressure also forces the heart to work harder to pump blood against resistance, leading to heart failure and irregular rhythms that themselves increase stroke risk. It is no exaggeration to say that nearly every stroke patient I have treated had a history of poorly controlled blood pressure. The tragedy is that this risk factor is both common and often overlooked. Many people never check their blood pressure, assuming that if they feel fine, they must be healthy. Others may be told once that their numbers are a little high, but then ignore follow-up care. Yet, the danger does not come from one reading on one day. It comes from years of steady, elevated pressure that chips away at the brain's defenses. Consider this. A normal reading is usually below 120/80. Even a mild rise above this level, if left untreated, doubles or triples the risk of stroke over time. The higher the numbers climb, the greater the threat. The good news is that blood pressure can be controlled and even lowered with consistent habits. Regular monitoring is the first step. Owning a home blood pressure cuff or having it checked at routine doctor visits provides a clear picture of your risks. Diet is another powerful tool. Reducing salt intake helps lower pressure dramatically, while eating more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains supports vascular health. Potassium-rich foods such as bananas, beans, and leafy greens help counteract the effects of sodium, giving your arteries relief. Maintaining a healthy weight, staying active with daily exercise, and managing stress also contribute to keeping blood pressure at safe levels. For some people, medication prescribed by a doctor is essential, and when taken regularly, it can save lives. Imagine your arteries as fragile hoses carrying water under pressure. If the pressure is too high for too long, the hose will either spring a leak or become clogged with debris. High blood pressure does the same inside your body. The leaks are hemorrhagic strokes. The clogs are ischemic strokes, and both can leave you unable to walk, talk, or live independently. By controlling blood pressure, you are not only reducing your risk of stroke, you are protecting your memory, your mobility, and your very independence. High blood pressure is not a condition you can afford to ignore. It is not enough to simply hope your numbers will improve. Action is required. Monitor. Adjust your lifestyle. Follow medical advice. And treat this silent killer with the seriousness it deserves. Every point you lower on that blood pressure reading is another layer of protection for your brain. Every day you control your pressure is another day you lower the odds of a stroke stealing your future. 2. Obesity and excess weight. Another powerful trait that increases the likelihood of stroke is carrying excess weight. Obesity is far more than an issue of appearance. It is a serious medical condition that quietly damages the heart, blood vessels, and brain. People who are overweight often develop a cluster of problems that together create a perfect storm for stroke. Extra weight pushes blood pressure higher, raises cholesterol levels, and increases the risk of diabetes, all of which are leading causes of both ischemic and hemorrhagic stroke. The presence of too much body fat, particularly around the abdomen, creates chronic inflammation throughout the body. This constant low-grade inflammation irritates blood vessels, making them more prone to narrowing and clot formation. Over time, fatty deposits accumulate along artery walls, reducing space for blood to flow and setting the stage for a blockage. When a clot forms and travels to the brain, the result is a stroke that could have been prevented if weight had been managed earlier. Obesity also affects cholesterol balance. It tends to raise the level of LDL, known as bad cholesterol, and while lowering HDL, the protective form, often called good cholesterol. The higher the LDL, the more likely plaque will build up inside arteries. The lower the HDL, the less protection you have against these deposits. This imbalance makes arteries stiff and narrow, restricting blood flow to the brain. In addition, obesity frequently leads to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. High blood sugar damages the lining of blood vessels, encourages the formation of clots, and accelerates atherosclerosis, the hardening of arteries. Together, these factors make stroke much more likely. Beyond the chemistry inside the body, obesity places extra physical strain on the heart. The heart must pump harder to supply blood to a larger body mass. And over time, this constant effort can lead to heart enlargement, irregular rhythms, and heart failure. These conditions are themselves direct risk factors for stroke. The tragedy is that many people underestimate the danger of being overweight because the effects develop gradually. You may feel well for years, But beneath the surface, your arteries are hardening, your heart is straining, and your brain is moving closer to crisis. The hopeful truth is that even modest weight loss can dramatically reduce stroke risk. Losing as little as 5 to 10% of body weight lowers blood pressure, improves cholesterol balance, and increases insulin sensitivity. These improvements give your vessels relief and restore some of the brain's natural protection. Practical steps include choosing smaller portion sizes, replacing processed foods with whole foods, and avoiding sugary drinks. Building meals around vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, and whole grains provides the nutrients your body needs without the excess calories that drive weight gain. Regular physical activity, even simple daily walking, helps burn calories, reduce fat, and improve cardiovascular health. Consistency is more important than speed. It is not about achieving rapid weight loss, but about creating sustainable habits that gradually bring the body into balance. Obesity is not just a cosmetic issue. It is one of the most important stroke risk factors that can be controlled. By addressing excess weight, you are not only improving your appearance, you are protecting your arteries, your heart, and your brain. Each pound lost reduces the strain on your vessels and decreases the chance of a clot or rupture that could take away your independence. Think of it this way. Every healthy meal and every step you take is a vote for your future. A step away from stroke, and a step toward living longer with strength and dignity. 3. Smoking. If there is one habit that relentlessly destroys the brain's defenses and multiplies the risk of stroke, it is smoking. Cigarettes and other tobacco products are filled with thousands of harmful chemicals that travel directly into the bloodstream with every puff. These toxins damage the inner lining of arteries, creating rough surfaces where fatty deposits can easily cling and grow. Over time, the once flexible and smooth vessels become hardened and narrowed, making it much more likely that a clot will form and block the flow of blood to the brain. This is the path to an ischemic stroke. Smoking also triggers changes in the blood itself. Nicotine causes vessels to constrict, forcing the heart to pump harder against increased resistance. Carbon monoxide binds to hemoglobin in place of oxygen, reducing the blood's ability to carry oxygen to the brain. Together, these effects mean that even when blood is flowing, it is carrying less oxygen, starving brain cells and leaving them vulnerable. The stress of restricted vessels, reduced oxygen, and thickened blood makes a stroke not just possible but likely. The danger does not stop with blockages. Smoking also weakens the walls of blood vessels, increasing the chance of rupture. When a vessel inside the brain bursts, blood spills into surrounding tissue and causes a hemorrhagic stroke. This form of stroke is often deadly, and survivors are frequently left with severe disabilities. In both ischemic and hemorrhagic strokes, smoking acts as a silent accomplice, accelerating the damage year after year. Research has shown that smokers face roughly twice the risk of stroke compared to non-smokers. The more cigarettes consumed daily, the higher the risk climbs. Even people exposed to secondhand smoke are not safe. Inhaling the smoke from others still delivers toxins that injure vessels and raise stroke risk. The tragedy is that many smokers believe it is too late to quit. They assume that the damage is already done after years or decades of smoking. This belief is dangerously false. The body begins healing within hours after the last cigarette. Within one day, blood pressure starts to lower. Within a few weeks, circulation improves and the blood becomes less sticky, reducing the chance of clot formation. Over the course of several years, The stroke risk of a former smoker drops to nearly the same level as someone who has never smoked. Quitting smoking at any age, even later in life, provides enormous benefits to the brain and heart. Breaking the addiction is not easy, but it is possible. Support groups, counseling, nicotine replacement therapies, and medications can all help reduce cravings and withdrawal symptoms. Simple strategies such as avoiding triggers, keeping your hands busy, and substituting healthy snacks for cigarettes can provide daily tools for success. Each smoke-free day allows the body to repair a little more, and each week of progress strengthens the artery's ability to resist damage. Think of smoking as a fire slowly burning through your arteries. Each cigarette adds fuel, and eventually the fire consumes enough of the vessel to cause collapse. By quitting, you put out that fire and give your brain a chance to remain strong. Smoking is not just a bad habit. It is one of the clearest, most preventable risk factors for stroke. By choosing to quit, you are not only adding years to your life, you are protecting your ability to walk, speak, and think clearly. No other single step has as much power to reduce stroke risk as putting out the last cigarette and refusing to light another. 4. Physical inactivity. One of the most underestimated yet dangerous traits that makes stroke more likely is a lack of movement. Physical inactivity is often dismissed as harmless, especially among older adults who believe slowing down is just a natural part of aging. But the reality is that a sedentary lifestyle quietly fuels nearly every major risk factor for stroke. Without regular movement, blood pressure rises, cholesterol levels climb, blood sugar regulation weakens, and weight increases, all of which put tremendous strain on the heart and arteries. Over months and years, these silent changes create the perfect environment for a clot to form or a vessel to rupture, triggering a stroke that might otherwise have been prevented. The science is clear. Exercise strengthens the cardiovascular system, keeps arteries flexible, and improves circulation so that oxygen-rich blood reaches the brain efficiently. Without it, the opposite occurs. Blood vessels stiffen, the heart works harder, and blood flow slows, increasing the chance that clots will stick to artery walls. Inactivity also contributes to obesity, which adds another layer of risk by promoting inflammation and insulin resistance. Even mental health suffers, as inactivity has been strongly linked to depression and chronic stress, both of which further raise stroke risk. Statistics from the World Stroke Organization reveal that nearly 1 million strokes each year are directly connected to physical inactivity. That means millions of lives could be saved or improved simply through consistent movement. The hopeful truth is that the body responds quickly once activity is reintroduced. You do not need extreme workouts or athletic training to make a difference. Gentle, regular exercise is enough. Walking briskly for 30 minutes a day, gardening, swimming, or riding a bicycle all stimulate blood flow and strengthen the heart. Strength training with light weights or resistance bands preserves muscle mass, which is vital for maintaining metabolism and controlling weight. Balance and flexibility practices such as yoga or Tai Chi prevent falls and support coordination, both important for older adults. The key is consistency. Sporadic bursts of activity cannot undo weeks of sitting, but small, steady habits, practiced daily, create lasting changes that keep arteries healthy and the brain sharp. The excuses for inactivity are understandable but dangerous. Many older adults avoid exercise because they fear injury or feel too tired. In truth, inactivity increases fatigue and makes injury more likely, while regular activity builds stamina and strengthens bones and muscles, lowering the risk of harm. Even those with physical limitations can find suitable options, such as chair exercises, water aerobics, or short, frequent walks. Every bit of movement counts and adds up to meaningful protection against stroke. Think of your body as a river system. When water flows freely, it nourishes everything along its path. But when the river stagnates, debris builds, pressure rises, and blockages occur. Physical inactivity turns your circulation into a stagnant pool, while activity restores it to a clear, flowing stream. By choosing to move each day, you flush out toxins, reduce pressure, and keep blood traveling smoothly to the brain. Physical inactivity may seem like a passive choice, but it is one of the most active contributors to stroke risk. Doing nothing carries consequences as severe as smoking or high blood pressure. The solution is simple and within your control. Stand up, take a few steps, stretch, and commit to moving every day. Each moment of activity is an investment in your independence, your clarity of thought, and your future free from the grip of stroke. 5. Alcohol consumption. Another common trait that significantly increases the likelihood of stroke is heavy alcohol consumption. Many people believe that drinking helps them relax, or that a small amount of alcohol is harmless. But the line between moderation and danger is easily crossed. Once alcohol intake becomes frequent or excessive, it begins to damage nearly every system that protects the brain. The heart, liver, blood vessels, and metabolism all suffer under the strain, and stroke becomes far more likely. Alcohol exerts its danger in several ways. First, it raises blood pressure. Each time you drink heavily, your pressure rises temporarily, but with repeated drinking, these spikes can become permanent. High blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for both ischemic and hemorrhagic stroke, and alcohol is one of the most common hidden causes. And second, alcohol disrupts heart rhythm. Irregular beats, especially a condition called atrial fibrillation, are often triggered by drinking. When the heart does not beat in a steady rhythm, blood pools in its chambers, clots form, and those clots can travel directly to the brain, cutting off circulation in an instant. Third, alcohol increases levels of triglycerides, a type of fat in the blood that promotes hardening of the arteries. As triglycerides climb, plaque builds up along vessel walls, narrowing the passages that deliver blood to the brain. Combined with reduced levels of protective HDL cholesterol, this makes clot formation far more likely. Excessive drinking also weakens the liver, an organ essential for filtering toxins and regulating clotting factors. When the liver is compromised, blood can become more prone to clotting or bleeding, either of which can result in stroke. The brain itself suffers direct damage as well. Since alcohol interferes with neurotransmitters and dehydrates brain tissue, leaving it more vulnerable to injury. The tragedy is that alcohol-related strokes often strike people who appear otherwise healthy. Someone may not have high blood pressure or diabetes, yet years of weekend drinking or daily heavy consumption silently raise their risk. The stroke may arrive suddenly after a party, a holiday, or a night of celebration. Families are left stunned because they did not realize how dangerous alcohol truly was for the brain. The hopeful truth is that controlling alcohol intake dramatically reduces this risk. Guidelines generally recommend no more than 1 drink per day for women and no more than 2 for men. But for those with high blood pressure, heart disease, or previous strokes, the safest choice may be to avoid alcohol entirely. Replacing alcohol with healthier options such as water, herbal teas, or natural juices not only protects vessels but also improves sleep and overall energy. For those who struggle to cut back, professional support, counseling, and structured programs can provide the tools needed to regain control. Think of alcohol as a hidden saboteur. A glass may feel harmless, but repeated exposure quietly erodes your defenses until one day the damage is revealed in the form of a stroke. Choosing to limit or eliminate alcohol is not a loss. It is a powerful act of self-preservation. By drinking less, you give your heart a steadier rhythm, your arteries a clearer passage, and your brain a better chance to stay sharp and strong. Alcohol does not need to dominate your life. But if it does, the price may be devastating. By making a conscious decision today to moderate or quit, you protect your independence, your speech, your memory, and your ability to live fully. Stroke may take these treasures away in seconds, but prevention through responsible choices can preserve them for years to come. 6. High cholesterol. Another common trait that quietly pushes people towards stroke is high cholesterol. Many dismiss cholesterol as just a number on a blood test, something to worry about only if it is extremely high. But the truth is that elevated cholesterol, even moderately above normal, slowly reshapes the arteries that feed the brain. Over years, these invisible changes narrow blood vessels, restrict blood flow, and create the perfect conditions for a stroke to strike without warning. Cholesterol itself is not entirely harmful. The body needs it to build cells and produce hormones. The problem arises when there is too much LDL, often called bad cholesterol, and not enough HDL, the protective form known as good cholesterol. Excess LDL circulates in the bloodstream and slips into the inner walls of arteries. Over time, it forms sticky plaques that harden and thicken the vessel walls, a condition called atherosclerosis. As these plaques grow, they reduce the space through which blood can flow. This narrowing may not cause symptoms at first, but it sets the stage for disaster. If a plaque ruptures, a clot can form instantly and travel to the brain, blocking circulation and causing an ischemic stroke. High cholesterol also affects the flexibility of arteries. Healthy vessels expand and contract to regulate blood pressure and maintain smooth flow. When plaque builds up, the vessels become stiff and less able to respond to the body's needs. This rigidity increases the chances of both clots and vessel rupture. In some cases, the buildup occurs in the carotid arteries, the major vessels in the neck that deliver blood directly to the brain. Blockages here are a leading cause of stroke, often requiring surgical intervention to remove or bypass the obstruction. The tragedy is that high cholesterol rarely causes symptoms. Many people feel perfectly fine, unaware that their arteries are slowly clogging. The first sign may be the stroke itself, a sudden event that leaves no time for preparation. That is why routine blood tests are essential. Knowing your cholesterol levels is the only way to detect the problem early and take action before irreversible damage occurs. The good news is that cholesterol can be managed effectively through lifestyle changes when necessary. Medication, diet plays a central role. Reducing foods high in saturated fats such as red meat, butter, and fried fast food lowers LDL levels. Replacing them with healthy fats from fish, nuts, seeds, and olive oil raises HDL, giving the body more of the protective cholesterol it needs. Increasing fiber intake from fruits, vegetables, and whole grains also helps remove excess cholesterol from the bloodstream. Regular exercise further boosts HDL and improves circulation, while maintaining a healthy weight reduces the strain on arteries. For some people, these steps alone may be enough to restore balance. For others, medications called statins provide additional protection by lowering LDL and stabilizing plaques so they are less likely to rupture. Think of cholesterol as the quiet builder of dams inside your arteries. At first, the flow of blood continues. But as the walls grow thicker, the river narrows until one day it is completely blocked. That blockage is the moment a stroke occurs. By managing cholesterol now, you can clear the river before it becomes dangerous. High cholesterol is a trait shared by millions, but it does not have to lead to stroke. With awareness, testing, and consistent care, you can keep your arteries open, your brain nourished, and your independence secure. Stroke may come suddenly, but the causes build slowly. And cholesterol is one of the most preventable. Taking action today could mean the difference between a life cut short and a future lived with strength and clarity. 7. Diabetes. Diabetes is one of the most significant traits that greatly increases the risk of stroke. Yet it is often underestimated by those who live with it. People tend to focus on the day-to-day challenges of controlling blood sugar. But the hidden truth is that diabetes relentlessly damages blood vessels over time. This damage, combined with other complications, makes stroke far more likely and often more severe when it occurs. When blood sugar remains elevated, glucose in the bloodstream attaches to proteins in the walls of arteries, making them stiff and less flexible. This process, called glycation, gradually erodes the vessel's ability to expand and contract, turning them into rigid pipes instead of healthy, resilient channels. At the same time, high sugar levels injure the delicate inner lining of arteries, which makes it easier for cholesterol deposits to build up and form plaques. This narrowing of vessels restricts blood flow and creates the conditions for a clot to block circulation to the brain. Diabetes also contributes to abnormal clotting by thickening the blood and making platelets more likely to stick together. This combination of hardened arteries and sticky blood is one of the main reasons why stroke risk is doubled or even tripled in people with diabetes. The risk does not stop there. Diabetes often goes hand in hand with other conditions that fuel stroke, such as high blood pressure, obesity, and abnormal cholesterol levels. This cluster of problems, known as metabolic syndrome, accelerates damage to the cardiovascular system and raises the chances of both ischemic and hemorrhagic stroke. People with diabetes are also more likely to suffer from heart disease, including atrial fibrillation, which allows clots to form in the heart and travel to the brain. The convergence of these factors makes diabetes one of the most dangerous contributors to stroke. The tragedy is that many people underestimate diabetes because the damage is not immediately visible. They may not feel pain or weakness until a major event strikes. By then, it may be too late to prevent long-term disability. This is why strict control of blood sugar is essential. Monitoring glucose levels, following medical advice, and taking medications as prescribed are the foundations of protection. Diet plays a powerful role as well. Choosing foods with a low glycemic index, such as whole grains, vegetables, beans, and lean proteins. Helps stabilize blood sugar and prevents dangerous spikes. Avoiding refined sugars, sweetened drinks, and processed snacks reduces the constant assault on arteries. Regular exercise is equally important. Physical activity improves the body's sensitivity to insulin, lowers blood sugar, and strengthens the cardiovascular system. Just 30 minutes of movement daily can dramatically improve outcomes for people with diabetes. Weight management is another crucial step. Even modest weight loss improves glucose control and lowers blood pressure, reducing the strain on arteries and the risk of stroke. Medications, including insulin and oral drugs, are life-saving when used consistently. They should not be viewed as a weakness, but as tools that protect the brain from the devastating consequences of poorly controlled diabetes. Regular medical checkups are critical to monitor blood sugar, cholesterol, and blood pressure together, ensuring that all risk factors are managed in harmony. Think of diabetes as a slow poison to the vascular system. Day by day, high blood sugar quietly weakens the vessels until one day they fail. But with careful management, the poison can be neutralized. People with diabetes who commit to healthy routines, proper diet, regular activity, and medical care can live long, full lives and greatly reduce their chance of stroke. The difference lies in consistency and vigilance. Diabetes may raise the risk of stroke, but it does not make it inevitable. With knowledge, discipline, and medical support, you can protect your brain, preserve your independence, and prevent diabetes from stealing your future. Stroke is not simply the result of age or fate. It is often the consequence of risks left unmanaged. Do not let diabetes become that silent threat in your life. Take control today, and you give yourself the best chance at a future free from stroke. 8. Stress and emotional strain. While many people think of stroke as purely a physical condition linked to blood pressure, cholesterol, or diabetes, one of the most overlooked yet powerful triggers is stress and emotional strain. The mind and body are deeply connected, and chronic stress silently reshapes the way your heart and blood vessels function. When stress becomes constant, it acts like a slow but relentless storm, raising stroke risk to dangerous levels. When you are under stress, your body releases hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. These chemicals prepare you for a fight or flight response. But when they remain elevated for weeks, months, or even years, they begin to harm your blood vessels. Cortisol encourages the buildup of fat and cholesterol in artery walls, creating plaque that narrows circulation. Adrenaline constricts blood vessels and increases blood pressure, putting constant strain on delicate tissues. Together, these changes make your arteries more vulnerable to both blockages and ruptures. Over time, stress also increases clotting tendencies in the blood, meaning that under emotional strain, your blood becomes thicker and more likely to form a clot that can block a vessel in the brain. The impact of stress does not stop at hormones. People who live with high levels of anxiety, grief, or depression often adopt unhealthy coping behaviors that further increase stroke risk. Smoking more, drinking heavily, overeating, or neglecting physical activity are all common responses to emotional distress. Each of these behaviors adds its own layer of danger, and combined with stress hormones, the risk multiplies. For example, an individual under stress may eat poorly, gain weight, and develop high blood pressure, all while their vessels are already being damaged by cortisol. This combination is a recipe for stroke. Emotional strain also interferes with sleep. And poor sleep itself raises blood pressure and weakens the heart. Night after night of restless sleep or insomnia leaves the body without the restorative rest it needs to heal vessel walls and regulate hormones. Over years, this exhaustion erodes resilience and leaves the brain vulnerable. In some cases, acute emotional shocks, such as the sudden loss of a loved one or a major crisis, have been directly linked to strokes and heart attacks. The body simply cannot withstand the overwhelming surge of stress hormones combined with the strain on blood vessels. The hopeful truth is that managing stress can be one of the most powerful tools to reduce stroke risk. Techniques such as deep breathing, meditation, yoga, and Tai Chi calm the nervous system and lower blood pressure. Regular physical activity not only strengthens the heart, but also reduces stress hormone levels. Restoring balance, spending time outdoors, engaging in hobbies, or simply walking in fresh air helps lower cortisol and refresh the mind. Maintaining strong social connections is equally important. Isolation magnifies stress. While supportive relationships provide comfort and perspective, talking with friends, joining community groups, or seeking counseling can all reduce the emotional burden. It is also important to recognize when stress has become overwhelming. Many people try to push through, believing that stress is just part of life. But ignoring emotional strain is as dangerous as ignoring high blood pressure. Seeking help from a professional therapist or doctor is not a sign of weakness. It is a wise and protective choice for your health. Think of stress as a hidden weight pressing constantly on your arteries. The longer it presses, the weaker they become, until eventually one breaks or clogs, resulting in a stroke. By learning to lift that weight through healthy coping strategies, you give your vessels room to heal and your brain the protection it needs. Stress and emotional strain are not minor issues to be brushed aside. They are measurable biological risks for stroke. By taking them seriously and managing them daily, you not only improve your peace of mind, you safeguard your ability to speak, walk, and live independently. Stroke may strike in seconds, but stress builds its foundation slowly. By addressing it now, you can dismantle that foundation and secure your future. Doctor's final words. As a brain doctor, my final message to you is both urgent and hopeful. Stroke does not appear out of nowhere. It builds silently over years through traits and habits that many people carry without realizing the danger. High blood pressure, excess weight, smoking, inactivity, heavy drinking, high cholesterol, diabetes, and chronic stress may seem separate, but together they form the web that traps millions of people each year. The tragedy is that many ignore these warning signs, only to discover the truth when it is too late. But the hopeful truth is this: every one of these risks can be reduced, controlled, or eliminated through conscious choices. You have more power over stroke than you might believe. The steps are clear. Monitor and control blood pressure. Maintain a healthy weight. Quit smoking and limit alcohol. Stay active and keep your body moving daily. Eat in a way that protects your vessels. With more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and healthy proteins. Keep blood sugar in check if you live with diabetes. Find ways to manage stress and nurture supportive relationships that protect your mind and heart. These are not just lifestyle tips. They are powerful medicines that extend life and preserve independence. Stroke can take away your ability to speak, walk, and remember in an instant, But prevention gives you the chance to hold on to these abilities for years to come. Do not wait until disaster forces you to change. Begin today. Reflect on your own life and identify which of these traits you recognize in yourself or your loved ones. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments, because your story could be the spark that helps someone else take action before it is too late. Remember, prevention is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Every small step you take adds up to stronger arteries, a healthier brain, and a brighter future. Stroke may strike in seconds, but the choice to prevent it is made day by day. Take control now and protect the life you deserve to live.